and welcome to another episode of the Marketing Meeting. Today we are wrapping up the year with my special guest, Zineb Layachi. Zineb, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Atir. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. With Zineb, we had a few trials last week, but we were not very lucky, and we had a few electricity cutoffs, some hiccups at the system and so on. So we decided to record it again. So we are making an effort here, people, to share our thoughts about the new year. Today we are planning to make up a wrap up of 2021, and we would like to also share some thoughts about what's going to happen in the marketing world for 2022 too. So Zineb, before we start the show, why don't you share a little bit about your background and story? I forgot to do an intro actually, which if you can let me first of all start, and then we can hear about your story, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. To my guests, I mean, Zineb has more than a decade of experience from business development to sales to marketing. She's the founder of Raise the Runway and the co-founder of PitchSLAP. She's an active player in the startup ecosystem. She's a marketing strategy consultant, and she mentors early stage startups with these two roles that she has. So, Zineb, why don't you tell us a bit about your story? How did you end up in marketing?
Yeah, and thanks for that. How did I end up in marketing? So, I could take 2 hours for this, but just to make it short for the listeners. So I started my role in sales enablement, business development. That's how I started my career. And I noticed that I really enjoyed helping sales. So I worked closely with sales, and I really enjoyed helping sales and get their message across, reach their potential buyers. So I really enjoyed that. And back in the day, I think marketing was, the one that does the flyers, right? The flyers and all that. And that's, in my career, I started with in bigger companies, the corporate world. And it wasn't until I, discovered the startup world that I was like, oh, wow, this really gives me a chance to be closer to the end customer, right? Mm-hmm. So that's something that's not always easy in bigger companies. You don't really get to see the end result, or things are just slower, right? A lot more bureaucracy. I was like, oh, this is really exciting. I can do things differently. And just the fact that I liked to help sales sell more or spread their message, etc. I naturally fell into marketing. So mm-hmm. I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's been tough, but I've had a lot of fun with that.
I think being in sales earlier to doing marketing roles as a two-time CMO, I think it gives you a lot of opportunity actually to understand and work with sales much better, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember, when I first got to Spain, one of the very first opportunities was an international company that wanted to expand the export department, right? And mm-hmm. I was, I had studied business and I had some sales experience, and I spoke, several languages, so that sort of made sense. And yeah, it just fits. It fits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Since as marketers, I mean, you and we are both doing brand strategy, marketing strategy, and we do consultancy on that. I thought that it will be a good opportunity for us to wrap up the year, because today is 27th of December, 2021. And then we'll be probably, launching this episode tomorrow or the other day latest. Shall we start with what has happened in 2021 and what will continue in 2022? Yeah, can you share a few of the trends that you discovered or observed during this last year?
Yeah, I think The first one that comes to mind is I'm not sure if it's so much a trend, but it's something I'm seeing a lot more of, which is a lot more people are talking about the fundamentals, having conversations with the customer, not just, it's the qualitative research, that part. I'm seeing a lot more people talk about that. Now, does that mean that a lot more people are doing it? I don't think so, right? But at least a lot more people are talking about it, which, in the previous years, I didn't see as much. So that's, I think that's one big one. And I'm hoping that will lead to actually more doing next year in 2022.
So first one that you said is the fundamentals. I agree on that because, for example, there are two things. Many of the things are now automated, and then people have access to a lot of stuff. And then what we see is that tactics and system hacks are not working too much. Because at the end of the day, AI, algorithms of the systems, algorithms of the platforms understand those hacks, and then they build another way to overlap those hacks. So that's why I think fundamentals are getting really important for businesses, that people need to understand the fundamentals of marketing, and we are kind of back to the old days on that sense, I guess, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And at the end of the day, it depends. It's not, the qualitative part is not 1 + 1 = 2, which is, you can't just sign into an analytics platform and just get the answer, right? So it takes a little bit more work, which means that you first need buy-in internally to actually dedicate time and resources to that, right? So you need someone that actually believes that this will lead to better decisions, better insights, better decisions.
On that sense, I see another thing that is going to come up, because when we talk about fundamentals, then the things about brand purpose is coming to play, which is like the fancy and popular word that everyone is using nowadays. I mean, do you have a purpose as a brand? What's the purpose of your brand, and so on, which is actually a fundamental of a brand. But on that sense, I mean, when you talk about purpose, then again, if you are doing your purpose study for the sake of doing the purpose, it doesn't work, right? I mean, I think 2022 and 2021, like the last 2 years, people understood that brands need to have a purpose. I mean, they need to have a why. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to serve humanity or need to serve the ecosystem or the world and climate, but they need to have a purpose. They understood that. But the thing is that you have to work on it. You have to really make it real, and it has to really resonate with your brand and with the management, with the employees, so on. I think the next years will be about brands really nailing the brand purpose piece, not just that, coming up with a purpose just to use as a marketing tactic or marketing way, but to come up with a real purpose, but that everybody at the company embodies actually. I think we're going to see that coming up more often, because at the moment it's just used as, okay, that's another tactic that we need to do. But you cannot fake it with the customers and with the consumers. You have to make it real, actually. So is there any other topic that you would like to share about 2021?
2021, I've seen, we've been talking about video for years now. We all remember the typical stats, from Cisco about, the amount of videos that we're going to see, etc. I'm talking about years back, but now I'm seeing a lot more people being more comfortable with video. And that's great, because, I'm a fan of that medium, and so I'm seeing a lot more of that, and I'm excited for what's to come next year. Also speaking, video, if I'm anywhere online, it's probably LinkedIn. So there's a lot more activity on LinkedIn. So that's great to see too, right?
Yeah. It was like it was an option for brands on the past few years, but now it's kind of a must. All right, it's one of the fastest growing form of content. And when you think about, how TikTok is rising, how Reels are becoming more popular on Instagram, and also YouTube. And the thing is that people are consuming it in greater quantities. And also, if you think about, a few days ago, I was listening to a podcast, and then the guy, he was a video expert, and he was telling us, okay, back in the days while we were watching TV, while we were watching really traditional TV, every ad was in video form, right? And that's how we are used to it. And then it attracts more attention. But then when Instagram came and when Facebook came, we started using still images to make as ads. But we know that people's attention are pulled towards a video much more than a still image, right? So that's why also in the ads business, in the advertising space, video is getting more popular because it attracts the consumers and the customers' attention much more than a still image. That's another fact, I think. And in relation to that, I have another thing to add to that. On top of video, I think 2022 will be a year that we are going to see lots of things about audio spaces. Because we know that YouTube already hired someone that is an expert in podcasting, and he's leading the podcasting and voice part of YouTube. He's a Google person from management, and they announced it a couple of months ago, which means that, for example, in YouTube, we're going to see they're going to also come up with some ways to reach the podcasters. And already for a couple of years, we are seeing that voice search. So, in Google, we are just typing, and then we are just getting the search results as text and typing. But we see that, we know that audio search is also going to become popular in the coming years. So I think it's, on that sense, 2022 will be an interesting year to watch out on the both video space, but audio as an audio topic also. I think next year, if we do the same episode today with you, I think we'll be talking about audio as a trend from 2022.
I think it's great that you brought up audio because, absolutely, audio search, it's available today, but I don't use it because it's still clunky, right? It's like it's not adapted to how we search for things. So the questions that we ask, right? That's what it needs to get to, because we don't ask for, it's just we ask things in a specific way. So, it needs more data. It needs more data to learn more. So that'll be absolutely interesting to see more of. And in both cases, whether it's audio or video, I think we're still gonna have to understand how that works, right? And how people use it, and remind ourselves that we're playing the attention game also, right? So how to use it, how short, where to put what message.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because if you think about the usage of millennials, for example, they send much more voice text, or they just send, if they are typing a text, they make it really short, or they prefer the voice messages. Which already shows that there's a trend going towards audio. And recently I started using notes and taking notes through the voice app in my iPhone, for example. For example, I'm just walking from somewhere to somewhere, and something comes up to my mind, and instead of you have to stop and you have to write and spend some time to write onto the notes, which actually, if you do the audio notes, then it's so easy because they can understand your language, and then you don't need to type it out, and you don't need to spend attention to that. So that's the third thing, I think, as audio is on the rise. I have another thing to add on top of that. So I think privacy will be another topic for 2022, because we know that new privacy regulations like iOS updates, Apple blocking ads, and then there is also the discussion around the postponed cookie placements. I think it was postponed to 2023 by Google. Google will be blocking the third-party cookies from websites. So that will be, I think, in that sense, together with the iOS updates, the changes, and cookies coming in place in 2023, I think 2022 will be a year where we are going to talk a lot about privacy. Because why this is important for marketeers? Because advertisers need that data in order to, target their ads to the right consumers, but which we will not be able to do that as extensive as that we can do it right now. So that's why I think we're going to see a lot of talks and a lot of conversations about the privacy issues. So this was the fourth. Do you have anything else?
No, I think really great points with the audio and the privacy, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
To your last point, I think it's gonna change the way we do marketing, right? Because just as an example, like we'll drive some traffic and then use the data for remarketing, right? Mm-hmm. That's not going to be as easy anymore, right? So we're slowly moving, shifting to the, what if we just gave all that information, we just gave it away, and we know exactly what it takes for someone to actually end up buying. So we give all that information, we answer all the questions, we give it away. And then when the person's ready, they'll choose us, right? They'll come to our website, right? It's a bit scary, but I think that's where the winners are going to come out, winning just by doing this, right?
Exactly. And the other thing that comes to my mind is the NFTs, which are on the rise.
Please explain NFTs to me again.
Okay, I mean, you should know that already, because our friend Andy has an NFT art piece now.
Right.
Right. So NFT, for people who doesn't know it, NFT is non-fungible token. It's a crypto, it's an extension of the crypto world, actually. So, for example, this year, Budweiser sold, I think, more than 1,000 digital cans online. And some of the rare cans were sold around like 20,000 at a piece of $20,000. And now we see Nike acquiring RTFKT, it's a leading NFT and digital collectibles brand. Then Adidas came up with an NFT collection. Now they are doing another one now. So I think these are really experiments. These are the early steps into the crypto world by some established brands. And we see that it's, I think the first time that I heard about NFT was back in the early months of 2021. But now every day I'm reading a news about NFT art, NFT brand collections, and so on. So I think in 2022, we're going to see a lot of brands trying and experimenting the space. Some of them will eventually fail because it's experiments and some of the things may not work. But I think we're going to talk a lot about NFTs next year, and maybe, that will be some kind of a thing that we don't want to hear in another year. That's one thing that I see. And the other thing is that I think we forget it. This was a year that Metaverse was launched, right?
Exactly.
2021, I think we heard a lot. Everyone knows what Meta is now. Facebook's new big company name. I guess in 2022, we will see and hear a lot about that space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the metaverse, I think very few of us know what it is exactly. So it's not there yet, right? And I saw a really great video. Maybe you can add it to the show notes. The island verse. So
Ah,
Iceland
yeah.
was, did you see that one?
Yeah,
So
I saw
Iceland,
that one.
yeah. So for the listeners, so Iceland, it's a joke, right? It's a joke on that. So they showed a video of everything that you can see with your own eyes. By being there, you can touch these things, right? So it's a parody. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It was like, look, we have real water, we have real sky, and then he's drinking the water and so on. It was amazing. I mean, if you haven't watched it, I mean, I'm going to add it to the show notes. The Iceland verse, you should just go ahead and watch it and have some fun. I mean, because I mean, we are already getting fed up with hearing the metaverse. But
Yeah.
you know, in that sense, I think we will hear a lot about, because I mean, Facebook is not going anywhere. It's still dominating the social media world, and many of the other things as well. It's not only a social platform any longer, but I think we're going to hear a lot of developments on the AR VR space, because I mean, that's what the metaverse launch. I mean, that's one of the words that Mark Zuckerberg was saying. It's all about, another world. It's not only about AR, VR, but we know that AR, VR is one of the bases and one of the fundamentals of that meta, whatever. So I think we're going to hear about that a lot. So I think at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about, I think as a last topic from 2021, 2022, you mentioned about less hacks, less tactics. Can you elaborate a bit on that? What do you think? Because I mean, we were in a year where everybody was coming up with a hack or with a tactic that can be used to overlap the algorithms. What's your take on that?
My take is, it's like you mentioned technology, right? So it's automating stuff. So, we're so eager to automate that we forget that to be able to first figure out what it is that we want to automate, we have to do non-scalable, things, right? It's not just plug in technology and voila. No, that's not how it works. So it's that step before that I think people skip because they're impatient, because probably they read blog articles that talk about latest so companies that have reached certain results by using certain tactics, and they say, okay, I'm going to copy that to the T, right? But they forget what's the context. They need to understand the context of where that company was, and does that context apply to them or not, right? Before you apply any type of advice or tactic, you need to understand where that was applied in the first place, and is it the same as yours or not, right? If you go back and study, if you read blog posts on HubSpot, Salesforce, all these companies, go back to the beginning and understand, what their competitive landscape was, what other alternatives were there, what positioning, like they adopted that positioning then because what, right? Was Slack, what were the alternatives to Slack? What was it going against? It was going against email, right? So I think we need to understand that before we plug in technology and we try to automate and do the growth hacks.
To sum up with what we have talked, so we have a few things, predictions for 2022 and a few topics from 2021. One of them was the fundamentals of marketing. It's getting more important for brands. The second one is video. The third one is audio is on the rise. Fourth one is privacy. Privacy will be a topic that we are going to keep on talking a lot in 2022. NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and brands exploring the NFT space. And the last one is about brands need to do less tactics and hacks, not less tactics, but less hacks. Instead of hacks, they need to focus on having a solid strategy and then building the tactics based on that strategy, instead of hacking up the system or hacking the algorithms or AI. We need to be really clever on why we are doing things at the first place. I think that's a good sum up of the year. So shall we come to the, before we come to the fun part of it, which was already fun, for me at the moment, since you work a lot with the startups, can you tell me one or two things that startups continue to do in 2021, and then you wish they don't continue to do in 2022?
Yeah, that one's super easy. I never shut up about this. I feel, and not just I feel, I see this constantly, is we build behind closed doors, and we do that with our messaging, we do that with our copy, and we don't take the time to figure out what is important for the audience, how do they want it to be served to them, what's the best way, what's the most engaging way, what would catch their attention. So doing all that research, by running a few tests, and what we do instead is we just vomit everything, right? On our landing pages, in our LinkedIn posts, even videos, right? There's a difference. I can post up to 10 minutes on LinkedIn, but I have to ask myself, is the whole 10 minutes, does every minute need to be there? As my PitchSLAP co-founder says, when we're doing pitch mentoring on investor pitches, is every minute, every second counts, right? So if it's going to be there, it's valuable real estate. Does it help you understand, the next second, and so on? Does it really need to be there? So doing that exercise, as opposed to just throwing everything at the audience, and having them make the effort to go through everything and say, okay, this is important to me, this is not important, because they won't do that. We mentioned playing the attention game, right? So there is attention, but you need to play it right. So yeah.
And that attention game is quite scarce if you think about lots of startups trying to pitch investors. So that attention game is quite scarce. And then if you don't use it wisely, and instead of that sharing everything that you have, doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's an important. And I also, for me, with startups that I see, I don't have that much of experience like you do, because you are mentoring the startups, but I see that they read tactics from other brands, and they think that applying those tactics might work for them. Actually, we need to consider that it's not apples to apples. If you are just applying a tactic that you see is successful with another brand, just think about the circumstances that other brand is having. Those circumstances are not exactly the similar circumstances that you have. So that's why, in order to apply a tactic, again, we come back to the same place. In order to apply the tactics, you have to have a strategy behind. So first strategy, then tactics would be, I think, a great place to be in. So I have a few questions about your 2021 list still. So tell me about, I know that you also listen to podcasts. Tell me a podcast that was your favorite in 2021.
Yeah, so I think I have many, but it's one that I discovered recently, I think around September. It's Excellent Writer. By Melanie Bukarut. I hope I didn't just butcher her name. So she's a life coach, and she, it's every episode is just super enlightening and engaging, and she just helps you make sure that your brain isn't in the driver's seat, right? So you're in the driver's seat, right? Because our brains tend to have a way to, they're sneaky.
Monkey mind. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think she's very eloquent. I love her voice. She gives so many examples. It's an absolute pleasure to listen to that and disconnect, because I think it's a for whatever whatever you do, whether it's marketing, sales, whatever you do in life, I think the brain part, the mindset is really important. So I highly recommend that one.
Excellent Writer. I will put it on the notes too. So mine is Social Media Examiner by Michael Stasner. It's like if you want to get up to date with what's going on in the social world. I mean, I listened to almost all of his episodes, and I was like, I think because of the New Year's, they are giving like a short break, and I was like, okay, isn't there a new episode this week? And I was trying to find new episodes, but no, it was not there. But I have a new Rising podcast, and I'm sure I'm going to listen to it a lot in 2022. It's from 3 Harvard professors, very distinguished Harvard professors. It's After Hours by the TED Collective, audio collective group. After Hours, and they are talking about business and culture. And it's so, the way that they structure the talk is like 3 professors having chat about business and culture and also about life. It's very, and they are also quite funny people. I mean, I really like it, and I just want to, I can take myself listening to one more episode and so on. So how about your favorite books for 2021?
Yeah, so I would choose, again, one of the recent ones that I read, Superfans by Pat Flynn. So it had been on my list for quite a while, actually. And, as with everything, you get like these little triggers, right? And then I saw someone that I follow on LinkedIn do a review on that book, and I said, oh, interesting. Let me go back to my list. And I moved it up to the book, to start reading right away. So I think that one is I highly recommend it. It's a very easy read. The idea of how to get super fans for your business, right, and how to treat them, the do's, the don'ts. He gives loads of examples. So highly recommend that one.
I have actually, now I have the books with me. So one of the books is probably you're going to see upside down. I mean, so it's How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp. Again, he's a professor, I think in Sydney or in Australia. That's a book that's, really I mean, I read fantastic books, over this year, but this one really stick to my mind as a marketing book. And the last one is Better, Simpler Strategy by Felix Oberholzer G. Actually, he's one of the also a podcast host of the After Hours. So I found about After Hours by the author of this book. It's not necessarily a marketing book, but there's also in every strategy, there's like a marketing element behind. So it's a strategy book, business strategy book, but there is also marketing involved. That's the other book that I read. So do you have a new discovery, one discovery from 2021? I mean, it can be anything, like both personal or business.
Personal. The big one of the year for me has to do with my business. So both personal and professional. Because I run my own business and they just tend to mix, right? It's who I enjoy working with, right? And there's no better joy than to keep learning about who your ideal client is, right? And that brings you more joy, and the one that you can do your best work with, right? And I know that now that I enjoy working with teams that are more, they're faster, they're more in the execution, right, themselves, right? Because you can talk about things, but if you don't see the results, or if you're running a series of tests, you need to be able to see the results that keep going, right? And I need that to help them more, but I also need that for myself because I get better too, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, I think thankfully I'm getting better at attracting this type of entrepreneur, and in the meantime, I'm also getting better at qualifying for that type of entrepreneur. So that has been an exciting one for me.
That's pretty cool. On my side, I shared this with you earlier, but for me, like getting the source of information, getting the news feed, getting the filtered news feed was a new topic for me in 2021, because back in the days that I was working for Nike for long years, I had access to the filtered news that's really matter for my work, right? I mean, I was not bombarded with so many news and I need to filter out. No, I mean, like we were getting really bite-sized news that really mattered to me. So on 2021, I signed up for so many newsletters. And I said, okay, I'm going to find the best ones inside it, and I'm going to, read them every day if possible. And so that's why newsletter discovery was a big thing for me. And out of that, I have a few newsletters that I will share on the notes too. One of them is Morning Brew. The other one is Future Party. And the newsletters from Brian Dean, he's a CEO guy, but he's sharing really cool stuff. And also Nick Sharma, he's sharing things about DTCs and brands. This is the business side. As a personal discovery, I have like a lipstick. I don't know why, but I have a tendency to lean towards organic stuff a little bit more in this year. Because, all the makeups that we put on and so on, I mean, I said, okay, I mean, lipstick is something that you put to your lip, right? I mean, that is something that you eat almost. So I had this nice Greek brand, Kosas, and then they are doing really nice lipsticks. There's no sponsored content here. It's completely like a testimonial, customer testimonial. But you know what? With all this organic world, some of the products that you are exposed to yourself, especially something like lipstick, it can get really sticky, and then it cannot act like the real lipstick. So I mean, this is something that maybe I'll send you one as a thank you for the podcast.
I'm not big on lipstick, but happy to try that one. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe, yeah. One last topic for the new year. Tell me a business or a personal New Year resolution. So because we are just wrapping up this episode too. I mean, this is the last question that you have. But what's your New Year resolution?
Yeah, now we're getting to the good stuff for the end.
And I'm ending it.
Personal, I really felt this year that, I'm not 20 anymore. So I'm 39, right? And this was the first year that I felt that I wasn't 20 anymore. No, my body and my mind need more caring for, right? I can't just find shortcuts. It just doesn't cut it anymore. So this was and so for next year, I'm I've already started researching places to do more Pilates and to block out more time for myself, just to think. I really just need time to think. Block out time to read and not feel like I'm taking time away from other things. No? Mm-hmm. So more of that. And on the business side, I would say doing more content. It's something I really enjoy, especially the video, as we mentioned before. So I really enjoy that. And I enjoy also collaborating with other entrepreneurs and other organizations. So co-creating also is something I would like to do more of. I already do that naturally, but I would like to do more of that and more intentionally. So yeah, I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. I think with on the personal side, I mean, I also had a few issues with my health over the last few weeks. I mean, since my early age, I'm a sports fan. I work out almost every day and so on. But what I could share with you and with other people is that also sports is a no hacks game. I mean, like you cannot hack it. I mean, you need to have, and you cannot apply the tactics that other people are applying, just like the brand strategy thing, right? Because I mean, the tactics that people are applying for their weight control or for building up muscles doesn't apply to your body because it's a special ecosystem and you need to customize your plan. You have to know yourself, really. I mean, I find it really hilarious, the match between our own bodies and our relationships with our buddies with the brand strategy. I mean, maybe some people will laugh at to that, but yeah, I mean, everybody needs a personal treatment. So I mean, people always ask me, okay, what's your, how do you work out? What's your workout plan? I said, I mean, it doesn't matter if I share it with you or not, because it's your body at the end of the day. So that's one of the things that I can share with my, as I'm on the 40s age piece. So for me, it's on the business side, it's rebranding my company, which, I mean, we talked last week, and I already told you that I have plans to rebrand my company, work on the branding piece and also strategy piece, which actually, which is going to start this week, actually. So things, with all these New Year resolutions, if you share it with someone, then
yes,
it's better to apply it, right?
Absolutely. Accountability.
And, accountability, exactly. And you make a promise to someone, just like, that's why I already took some steps, and, I started working with someone on that, a friend of mine on that. I think that's the same thing applies to me also, like expanding my network and creating a social capital out of my hometown and out of my home country is a New Year resolution for me. So I'm really happy that we were able to connect, with the help of this recording and podcast. And I'm sure we'll be connecting more over the next couple of months. Shall we do this next year, this time also?
Please do.
So it's a tradition, maybe.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Yeah, Zineb, so thanks so much for being with me on the show. Can you please tell people where can they find you? What are the platforms that is best for you to reach?
First of all, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that your listeners, found it fun or interesting and learned something new. Yeah, if I'm online, as I mentioned before, I'm probably on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out if you want to continue this conversation or start a new one. Always happy to meet new people.